y'all, welcome back to Funhouse TV. Today I will be doing a video on one of the most requested topics, which will be about the Army and basically like my whole process of becoming an Army officer, a commissioned Army officer, and going through the ROTC program while I was in school. Alright, so just first starting off, I do have on my APFUs. My hair is not in regulation, of course, and I do not have my nails. So I am not in uniform officially. I'm just wearing my shirt just for the purposes of this video. I would never normally dress like this if I'm doing an actual Army activity. That's just a disclaimer because I know people will say something about the way my hair is, the way my nails is, etc. Cool. Purposes of this video is about the Army. Alright, so as you guys may know, I am a commissioned Army officer. My current rank is a first lieutenant. I commissioned November 2017. However, I did start the Army ROTC program back in 2014 while I was in college. So just rewinding back to how I got started and the reason why I joined. So basically, I was in college and I think I sat down with one of my guidance counselors or one of my admissions counselors, something like that, and we were just talking about like my future goals and everything. It was my freshman year, and he was just like, you know, what's your goals? So I was currently on academic probation, and he's like, what's your goals for the future? What do you want to do? How do you plan to pay for college, etc. So he broke down, we did a financial plan, and he broke down where I was currently as far as my college debt, and he broke down where I would be when I graduate. And you know, when you're like 18, 19 years old, you don't really understand what you're signing for as far as student loans and everything. You're just like, all right, cool. If this is what I got to do to continue to go to school, I'm going to sign. So I did have a college advisor or counselor who sat down and broke it down to me, like numbers, like, listen, this is what you're signing for. This is how many grants you have. This is how much you need to take out in loans, you know, and this is where you are. And so when I was, during the prediction, he predicted to me like, you know, at the end, when it's time for you to graduate and everything, this is how much you will owe in student loans. And I looked at the numbers. I'm like, you know, that's really expensive, you know. So we started weighing my options on what I can do. Long story short, he asked me like, you know, is there any programs that you looked at at the school? And have you looked at any type of alternatives that you wanted to do, any scholarships, etc. So I told him like, yeah, actually, you know, I always wanted to join the Army. I don't really know much about it, but I did think about, you know, joining before I came to college. And he was like, well, you know, Army ROTC program here, if you want to go over there and talk to them and just find out more about the program. They do offer scholarships for students that do, you know, go and sign up and everything, and you know, you'll graduate as a commissioned officer, and, you know, told me the whole process. So I was like, all right, cool. So I went over and I talked to one of the cadre that's in the ROTC program, and they basically, you know, explained to me like my options and training process and, you know, going away to training during the summertime. And it just seemed like something that I can do. I'm just like, hey, like, what more do I have to lose? You know, they said like, hey, you know, if you maintain a certain GPA, you know, you can possibly win a scholarship, and you'll also receive a monthly stipend of so much money, you know, and then you get all these different opportunities open to you. You just have to do A, B, and C in the program. So I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. Like, I was just like, you know, this sounds like something that I can do, me personally at the time, and I did it. And I will say, like, you know, starting off, you know, it's called an MS1, so you're like a little cadet, and you don't know much, but you take these classes, and they teach you a lot. You know, you have your peers around you, and, you know, you guys are learning from each other. And I will say, during the ROTC program. I enjoyed it. That's just me personally. You know, I was able to learn from a lot of the other cadets. They walked me through a lot. I did have to go to 2 trainings. So one of the trainings was called CIET, which was in Fort Knox, Kentucky. And then the other training was called at the time CLC, which was also in Fort Knox, Kentucky. I went there for about 29 days in the summertime, really hot. But I went there and I learned a lot. You know, you're around other cadets. You guys are learning from each other. And, you know, that's pretty much the process when you're in the ROTC program. I had to go to PT, which was Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, early in the morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. We would have PT in the morning, and then I would have lab, and then we will also have a class. So these are some of the things that you have to do in the ROTC program. With a host of other things, you know, we did like the football games and stuff. We did like volunteer work. We would have, what else? We would have like our certain days we had to go to the field. It was just like a lot. But, you know, at the time, we're not real, you know, soldiers per se. We're just like cadets. So they're training us to become commissioned Army officers. And throughout that time, like, I did learn a lot. I learned a lot about myself. I pushed myself to the limits. I cried, you know, it was a lot. And I get the question a lot about, like, hey, like, do you recommend it to people? Like, what's the bad parts and stuff like that? And I will say that from my experience, I didn't experience a lot of bad parts. I did experience times where I did want to quit. Plenty of times I wanted to quit, but who don't want to quit? You know, like, you're in college and all your friends is having fun and they're going out and they're drinking and stuff. And you kind of like, well, I can't go out tonight, or I can't drink because I got PT in the morning. It did discipline me a lot. It gave me that sense of responsibility just being in college and just knowing, like, hey, I can't, you know, do the same things that my friends and stuff are doing because I'm the only person that's in ROTC. I didn't have any friends that joined with me or anything like that. So it just gave me that sense of discipline, responsibility, and something to look forward to. On the flip side, you know, besides me just, you know, being cut out of like a lot of my little social stuff that I could have been doing, like partying, etc., it made sure that I stayed on track. So not only am I, you know, making sure that my grades is good just for myself, I got to make sure I maintain a certain GPA for ROTC. I got to make sure I maintain a certain GPA for my scholarship, you know. So it just kind of like gave me that extra discipline that I needed throughout college, because in college it's easy to get distracted. And that's just something that I do appreciate now, you know, when I look back at it. I changed completely as a person once I joined ROTC. And some people, you know, they say like, oh, ROTC isn't real, you know, it's fake, it's made up or whatever. It's like, you know, the little cadet world or whatever. And I get that like 100%. I'm not knocking anyone who, you know, active duty real Army or any of that. But for those that need it, you know, ROTC does give you that balance where you're like, okay, you know, I'm becoming something. It holds you to a certain standard. And I feel like that's what I liked about it. And I always encourage people, like, people ask me like, you know, would you recommend anyone doing it? 10-10 recommend it. I'm not going to lie. I did get a full scholarship from the time that I was awarded the scholarship and up until I graduated. So that was like amazing for me. So I don't have a lot of student loans that I do owe. I just have for the time frame that I didn't have my scholarship and the time frame that I wasn't in the ROTC program. You know, and then I also received a stipend. So during ROTC, you receive a stipend based on your level that you are. You know, the more, like, the higher you are, it's like, you know, MS 1, 2, 3, and 4, you know, the more amount of money that you'll receive. So you're receiving a stipend, you're getting it every 1st and 15th. It's not too much, but it's something, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's something. It's an extra $500 or so in your pocket. You know, like, who wouldn't want a little extra money while you're in college? to do stuff. That extra money, you know, in my pocket helped me get a car while I was in college, and then it also helped me pay my car note. So I'm paying a car note, I'm paying car insurance, I'm getting this stipend, I'm also working in college. I maintained a job 3 years out of the 4 years that I was in college, and you know, I'm paying bills. I'm just being super responsible, like, with money. And that was something that I also learned, you know, being in the program and stuff like that. We learned a lot about like money management. We learned a lot about just like a lot of real world stuff. And that's why I encourage a lot of people, like, hey, don't knock it until you try it, you know, because, and it's not for everybody. I say that all the time. Like, it's not for everybody. Like, I get it. Like, you can't do it. Some people don't like people, you know, telling them what to do. Some people don't like, you know, getting up in the morning and stuff like that. So it's like I 100% get why anyone would not want to do it. But for those that do want to do it, do have that curiosity, I would just say, you know, try it out, you know, at least for like a month, because it's no obligation. That's another thing about it. Like, it's no obligation when you first start. Like, you can just start, you know, start the program, and there's no real obligation that they're like, oh yeah, like, you're stuck in this, like, you're in this contract and you're stuck and you can't, you know, get out if you want to and stuff like that. Like, you can just kind of like start for a month and see how you like it, and like see how you like the staff and the cadre and the other cadets. Like, you can ask a lot of questions. Like, well, at least the experience that I had, they were really friendly. They were really helpful and encouraging and stuff like that. So that's one thing that I did, again, like, about the whole program. Fast forward, I went to CLC, which is going into my senior year, which means I'll be graduating and I'll be becoming a commissioned officer. And that's something that's really exciting, because then it's like time for you to pick, like, you know, where you want to go. If you want to go active duty, if you want to go reserve time, and etc. It's just like a great experience as far as you just becoming an adult. You know, you're making those like adult decisions, and it's just, I just felt like it was just something, you know, decent. Fast forward, I commissioned and I became a second lieutenant, and I got assigned to a unit which is which at the time was closer to, you know, my hometown and everything. And then I was reserved. I was reserved, and I still am reserved. And I, you know, drill once a month on one weekend, and you know, you go in and you're around like real soldiers, you're around like real officers. So it's no more like cadet world, like you're in a real army setting, and you like getting to know them and everything. So I'll just say, like, I really liked my transition. I liked how I was explained everything. I didn't, you know, no one left anything out or tricked me, or, you know, none of that. Like, I know I hear a lot of stories about like people saying like their recruiter failed them and etc. Like, you know, that can happen, but I'm just talking about my experience. It was pretty well. And then I get a lot of people, you know, asking me like, should they do it? Like, you know, what do I think and this and that. Like I always say, do what is best for you. You know, weigh your options, look at your past, look at your future, think about what you can dedicate to and stuff like that. And if it's something that fits, that you feel like it fits into your future, I would say try it, you know. And let me see, what else did I want to talk about with the Army? And okay, so you guys probably want to hear like a bad situation or a bad story that I had. And I'm gonna be completely honest. I currently, you know, I don't have anything that has happened to me, you know, since I commissioned, which was back in 2017, that leaves me with a bad review or negative taste about the Army. I think a lot of times with the Army, what shapes your Army career and what shapes, you know, how you're going to progress in the Army has a lot to do with your leadership. It has a lot to do with just like your drive and your motive of like, what do you want to become. A lot of times you have the power, or at least, you know, since I am an officer, I do have like a lot of choices. I am given more choices than, you know, enlisted, and that's not to brag or anything, but that's just me, you know, explaining my position and my role in the Army. I do, you know, notice that I do have a lot more choices and stuff like that. So I guess that's just like one thing, one disclaimer I can say. But like I said, in the Army, a lot of stuff is shaped from your leadership. One of the things that I did when I first got to my unit was I found an officer that was like me. So a lot of times you're going to be assigned someone who's going to be like, you know, like your mentor, or, you know, a person who's supposed to walk you through everything. You can cling to them, or, you know, you can cling to whoever you see fit. I think that's one of the important things, and that's something that will shape and mold your career, because they are going to give you the advice. They're going to give you, you know, recommendations on like how they got to where they got to. So me being a second lieutenant, I looked for a captain or major to cling to, which is higher ranking than me, to cling to and kind of like, you know, pick their brain, ask them a lot of questions, ask them like, hey, like, what did you do? Like, how do I get to your rank? How did you, you know, continue on? Did you ever go through this? Ask a ton of questions. Questions is never shunned upon. You may be being looked at as like, you know, a little annoying or whatever, but I mean, my experience, I never had anyone get annoyed with me. They was more so like, yeah, like, I'll tell you LT this and LT that or whatever. In the Army, I feel like showing that you know, want to grow, you want to learn, you're willing to go the extra mile to, you know, progress, that's going to help you a lot, because it's just like leadership want to see those soldiers or those, you know, officers that's looking to grow and looking to be like the next top leaders and everything. So when I came to my unit, I'm instantly, hey, I'm LT, you know, and I'm just like, you know, what, like, I'm asking questions like, okay, you know, what's the daily plan? I'm writing stuff down. Everything I'm hearing, I'm writing stuff down. I'm taking note. I'm looking at who's the commanders. I'm looking at who follows the commanders. I'm looking at who talks to the commanders. I'm, you know, getting a little bit of advice from a little bit of everybody. You know, you're going to have those people that may give you, you know, like, oh, this unit this unit that. Go in with a positive mindset. Go in with a mindset that you're ready to learn, you're ready to grow, you're ready to become that star, either soldier or officer, you know. And that's kind of like how I, you know, came to my unit. I was volunteering for stuff. You know, whatever my soldiers had to do, I was doing it. Like, you know, because that's also going to shape how people look at you when you are a higher rank than them, but you're not doing things that they are doing. So I know that was one of the things that I learned at ROTC, and I always, you know, kept that on the tip of my shoulder. Like, I never let my soldiers think I'm better than them, or you know, even though we are not equal, but when it comes down to soldier tasks, I will, you know, complete it with them. If they got to do a PT task, I'll do a PT task. They got to run, I'll run with them. If they have to, you know what I'm saying, clean up, or they're being asked to do a task like that, I'm gonna make sure I'm checking on them, making sure that they ate, making sure that they, you know, have everything that they need. I'm listening to them. I'm listening to their side conversations. I'm just being that officer, whereas, like, you know, I'm gaining their respect, and as well as I know if any problems arise or if it's anything that's going on, I am hands-on with my soldiers. So those are some of the things that I did. Those are some of the things that, you know, I have been working on, and I think that I am going to end this video with this. The Army is not for everybody. and I understand that. I respect anyone who do have the courage to do it, and I respect those that are, you know, willingly enough to say that I do not have the courage to do it. Either one, you know, do what's best for you and take pride in whatever you do. I hope that this video gives someone, you know, shines light on someone's, you know, feeling about maybe possibly joining the Army or joining the ROTC program, becoming an Army officer, or even becoming a soldier. Let me know if you guys have any questions on any of the stuff that I discussed, and I'll answer them. I'll either do a video, or you can send me a DM on Instagram or on Twitter. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Shout me out, you know, and let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much. Okay.